two things. One, they're either telling porcupines, or two, they don't like making any money. Good morning, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Sorry about the puffy eyes, got terrible hay fever. So this morning, just going to explain what the title of this video is all about and the thumbnail. So first of all, what is the advantages of a twin plate clutch over a single plate clutch? Why do we have them? So because you've got two plates in there, the idea is, or the theory is, you get twice the clamping pressure for the same force on the pedal, basically. So to have a single plate clutch that holds as well as a twin plate, you're going to have twice the pressure on the plate, on the cover, so, which makes the pedal twice as hard. So that's the idea of it. It's a bit like a motorcycle. They've got such a small clutch, but to hold the power and the torque, they have numerous plates, and that just multiplies the amount of pressure for the same feel on the lever. So that's the idea of it. Clutch balancing. Here we have, as you can see, a very pretty clutch on the end of a 20 valve Audi crankshaft. Now this we've already balanced. I'm not going to go too much into that because you know the routine of balancing. So we've balanced this, we've balanced the flywheel. Now this flywheel and clutch assembly, this is a twin plate clutch and it's made by a company called CG Motorsport. We've dealt with these before, absolutely fantastic product, and to be honest, compared to some twin plate clutches, it's really reasonable in value. So the reason for the title today. So when we've got a very light flywheel like this and it's CNC turned, people tend to think because it's all expensive and it's CNC turned out of steel, it's not going to be out of balance, but you are wrong. So we see quite a lot of engine parts come from engine builders. Whether it's a crank that they want balanced or ground, whether it's other parts they want machining on like pistons or cylinder head and what have you. But we're always very, very surprised that even if they send a crank to be balanced, they never send the clutch. We cannot emphasize enough how out of balance clutches can be. And don't hold me to this, you know, this is just from our experience, but we always find the dearer the clutch, the more trick it is, the worse it is out of balance. And that's just from our experience. So these twin plate clutches, as good as CG Motorsport is, you know, as I say, fantastic product. Whether it's something to do with, you know, on the end of the crank, it runs absolutely true, but they're always out of balance. Now, I'm not sure whether I told you about this little story before, but we had a chap in here with a 6-cylinder crankshaft out of a Nissan Skyline. This was in a drift car, so it was big power. Basically broke 2 crankshafts in the engine. It just so happened that he came in here. I wasn't actually doing the job, but he came in here with one of our good customers to balance up the crank. It was like a bit of a rush job really, because he was trying to build an engine before the next meet. He competed in the British Drift Championship. And when he turned up, he had the crank assembly minus the clutch, and he was running a twin plate clutch. So I sort of stuck my nose in and I said, "Where's your clutch?" "Oh, you don't need to do that. It was like 2,000 quid or something ridiculous." He said, "Oh no, that's absolutely fine." I said, "Listen, go and get your clutch." He weren't too happy because he said it was about an hour away. Anyway, I persuaded him to go and get it. And when we put it on, you've seen our crank balancer before and how it works. It was bang, straight off the scale. Bear in mind, this thing turns normally at about 400 RPM. You could feel the machine vibrating. So when we finally balanced the clutch cover out, it was miles out. We had to take an absolute mile off one side of it. And when he put it in the car, he didn't have the problem again, never broke another crankshaft. And he said the power difference was where he was having a clutch dip it sometimes before, it was just literally off the throttle, same sort of response. So as I say, guys, cannot emphasize enough on how important it is to balance your clutch. And as I say, these twin plates always seem to be worse than anything. And as you can see here, I've balanced this one already. I don't want to go too much today into how to balance cranks because we know how to do that. But there's been quite a bit took off this web to get the right-hand side in balance. Not too bad on the other side. See, there's a bit there. The flywheel was a couple of holes on one side, not too bad at all. But the clutch cover, as you can see that, I know it's aluminium and it's lighter than steel, but that is fairly drastically out. And on the gauge here, we're up about 80, 90. So first thing you have to do with these, before you balance these twin plate clutches, is the plate that's in the center. This is free floating, so that's not fixed, but you've got to make sure that that is a good fit in the clutch cover. We've had the cheap ones before where they sort of rattle about, and then what we normally do is we put it up with first and see how out of balance it is. Then we take this plate out, put the cover on and see what it is again. If it doesn't vary, then you know that this thing is not really affecting it too much and it's pretty secure in there. So that's what we've done with this. It's absolutely no different with or without. So that is a really nice fit in there. So fair play to CG for machining it like that. But some of them do rattle about in there. So that, in my eyes, isn't a problem. It all looks to be running true, but it's just generally out slightly. So yeah, as I say, guys, that's just from our experience. But you know, the worst case scenario with this, if you don't balance your clutches, you can break the crank, let alone it being a nice smooth engine. I spoke to a guy at the weekend at the Lynn Valley Classic that we went to last Sunday, and I built an RS Turbo 1600 CVH engine for him, and he said compared to his friends, they've both been built, but his was fully balanced. He said compared to his friends, you can rest, you know, a full cup of water on the top and it doesn't go anywhere. And for a CVH, that's pretty impressive. So cannot emphasize enough, guys, you've got to balance those clutches. So just continuing with this job here, guys, started this yesterday afternoon. This is for Bob Dove Motorsport. So this is Paul Dove's job and Bob Dove's job. It's an Alfa Romeo. We've had loads of these before in the past. You've probably seen numerous of them in here. But this is a twin overhead cam, 8 valve. Not sure how big this one is, whether it's a 1600 or 2 litre or what. But basically what we're doing is we put in bigger valves in it. So these are the valves he's got. The inlets are 2 mil bigger, and I think the exhausts are 3 mil bigger. Now, with the standard seat inserts, you can get away with the standard inserts without putting too bigger insert in. So we basically, these valves will come right up to the very outer edge of both of the inserts. So what we're going to do is, the head has been ported already, pretty much. So as you can see, we have done the inlets already. So what Bob wants is he wants about 2.5 mil of seat on there. So we're not doing a 3-face on this, we're doing a single 45 degree. And he wants about 2.5 mil of seat. So to do that, what we've done is we've took 2 mil out of the bore. He wants about 2 mil out. And that means that the edge of that 45 degree seat there will sit on the very outer edge of the seat down here, okay? So I've done the inlets. With these as well, because these are a shimmed bucket, you've got to be very careful how far you cut down. You can't have the stem, the other side of the head, protruding too much. It's about 42 mil, I think, is what Bob likes it. So first of all, we cut the seat down and measure the valve and make sure we get that 42 mil jut out on the back end. And then we bore it out, so we've got the 2.5 mil seat on there. Now, as you can see, I've just bored out the exhaust. I haven't cut the seats yet, but we've got about 2.5 mil of seat on there. And now I'm going to put the 45 degree cut on there. But that's what we do to put the big valves in for Bob. That's how he likes them. And then what he'll do is he'll take it away. We bore down the seat to the aluminium, and then he'll take it away and he'll fettle that and just blend it into the port. Right, guys, just a quick one. With regards to the last video, the section on drilling out broken studs. So there was quite a lot of comments on people wondering why the hell we just don't set these things up on and do it on the mill with an end mill. And there was also quite a lot of comments there from people, experts, that say that they've been doing this all their life. They've drilled out hundreds of studs and they've always done it on a mill. Now, first of all, those people there on quite a lot of these jobs, if that's how they've always done it, two things: one, they're either telling porcupines, or two, they don't like making any money. So the only time we really tend to use a milling machine to drill out these studs or bolts is when someone's either had a go at it, drilled it off centre, or we've had a go and it's gone a bit belly up or something like that. We have to sort of mill it out because you just can't get it, you can't pull it back with a drill freehand. So that was really the only time we'll use it, and that's very, very rare. So the reason we prefer to do it freehand is because at the end of the day, guys, although we like to do the best job we can and we take pride in our work, which whatever we do, we are there ultimately to make money. Now you've got to bear in mind, a lot of these studs, that job there that I was demonstrating on was a cylinder head, and it was at 90 degrees to the head face, so that wouldn't have been too bad at all to set up on a mill, you're right, but it would still have took probably quarter of an hour to half an hour to set up on an angle plate. And a lot of these drills, a lot of these studs we get to drill out, you've got to bear in mind, are on weird and wonderful things, funny angles, and the customer, they're not very happy with it costing 20 or 30 quid if that's what it ends up, but they're certainly not going to be happy with another half hour to an hour on setup time. So that's the main reason we don't do it on the milling machine. The other reason is we've got that good at it, to be honest. I mean, it took some time there because I was sort of demonstrating slowly for video purposes, but when we come to just do it ourselves, we can get one out in under a minute. So by the time you've faffed around setting up your job on the milling machine, we've done exactly the same job by freehand 3 times over. So that's mainly the reasons, guys, we don't do that. Yes, we do know that you can do it on a mill with an end mill, but we just find it a lot easier freehand. We've got the knack of it, and we can get it done and dusted and out the way. So yeah, thanks a lot for the comments though, guys, really appreciate that. Well, yet again, guys, thanks ever so much for watching. Remember, like, subscribe. Can't wait to read them comments, and we'll see you after the weekend. Take care.